So in my talk, I was taking a walk with one of our new nuns the other day, and she was asking about what to study, because she was saying that she sees many people that she sees many people, studying about Tantra and studying about all sorts of different things. But she feels that she needs to stick with the basics, with the Four Truths, with the Lam thought training, needs to get a good handle on what's going on in her mind and to learn how to work with the afflictions and how to develop the good qualities. And those texts really contain the very basic methods on doing that, but saying that they're basic does not mean they're easy. Okay, we really need to practice. So she was getting confused when she saw some of the other people reading other books because, here were, one of the series was about, the series of the Library of Wisdom and Compassion. Starting from the beginning, we're only on volume 3 out of 10 volumes. And already at volume 3, there's a lot going on. Okay, we're really into the Four Truths, and it's not like you read it once and you got it material. Okay. So we talked about that, and I was telling her how it's always puzzled me what people choose to study in the study period, okay? Because when I was studying, whatever my teacher taught that evening in the study period, I would go over my notes. Yeah, I was somebody who could take a lot of notes, very quick notes. If I wasn't, I would have listened to the teachings again and noted the main points. Why? Because just hearing something once, you don't really get it. You're getting the introduction to the material, even if some of the material you've heard a gazillion times, okay? Still, every time you hear it, it goes in at a deeper level. So we have to hear things many times, even, and especially if it's a new topic, not just listen to the teachings, come back to our room and kind of read about, Betty Crocker making a kopse and how their kopse are empty, or something like that, Yeah, some new book. Betty Crocker and kopse. Yeah. Geshe-la, do you know who Betty Crocker is? Oh, when ages ago, when I was little, and she's still around, isn't she? I mean, I don't know if she's around, but her brand is around. Yeah, her cookbook is around. So she wrote a cookbook, and she put out all these food products. Okay, she was the big hit. Everybody got Betty Crocker things. I think you still can get them. And she wrote this massive cookbook. Okay, so now she's taking up momos and kopse. Yeah, and you want to, and also talking about emptiness and dependent arising when she's creating the momos and kopse. So, your teacher teaches one thing, and you go back and read Betty Crocker's, treatise on emptiness and dependent arising. So she was confused, and I said, yeah, because you should go back and study your notes about, or listen to the recording of the talk again, of what you heard that day. So, because first you have to just even understand the words, then you have to understand the concepts, then you have to think about it and see if it makes sense and what's really getting expressed here, and then do some meditation on it to really kind of get it and link it to your life. And if you don't do that, then what happens is you hear a lot of teachings from your teacher, but you don't hold it in your mind, because it's with familiarity and study that you hold it in your mind. Yeah. And so, you're hearing one thing, then you're going back and you're reading about highest class Tantra and what's the difference between that and Mahamudra and the different kinds of Mahamudra. And somebody just translated the Guhya Samaja Root Tantra, and it's a pretty big book, and so you're spacing out how long it's going to take you to read it, and then you have to read the Kala Chakra Root Tantra and all the commentaries on that, which is really bigger, but forget going over the teachings on mind training, or on the Four Truths, or on emptiness, which is already complicated enough, isn't it? Okay, so I was saying, it's really wise, set your foundation well, and especially when something is fresh in your mind because your teacher just taught it, go over it again. It will help you remember it. And then as you're studying it, memorize, if there's an outline, memorize the important points that, your teacher's trying to get across in it. Yeah, so that you can really hold the material in your mind. And if you do that, then the next time you hear a talk on the same topic, that talk will make sense because already you've studied the first one. And then you can slowly build up your knowledge about a certain area of the Dharma. Yeah, whereas when your reading is not corresponding with the teachings you're studying, sometimes you miss a lot, and sometimes the reading is more like, I just want to read the exotic things. Yeah, I want to read about, the 6 super knowledges. Yeah, and at what stage you get the 6 super knowledges, and what you can do when you have the 6 super knowledges, and whoopee. Yeah, and are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah. So, the higher things we will get to. You can read a little bit about them, but really focus, making what your teacher teaches and what you're reading get consolidated and integrated in your mind. Yeah. In that way, you'll be able to practice what you're learning, and you'll be able to remember it for the next time you hear that kind of topic. Okay? But instead of, it's like, oh, well, they're talking about bodhicitta and how to develop bodhicitta again. I've heard those teachings so many times. I think I want to read about, let's see, Dzogchen. There's so many of my friends are doing Dzogchen. I want to read about Dzogchen. Or, let's go back to the Pali Sutras. Let's go, and, I want to read about the chakras. Yeah, and Hindu books have a lot about the chakras. I'll go read from those books and learn about the chakras. Okay, yeah, you're gonna get kind of messed up. Yeah, and yeah. You might know a lot when you go to the Dharma teachings, because you can spout all sorts of fancy words. But in terms of really putting it into practice, that's a different story. Yeah, and I remember when I was, new to Buddhism, one of my teachers was talking about the subtle mind. I thought, ooh, subtle mind. I want to know what the subtle mind is, Can I identify my subtle mind? So I was like sitting there, watching the breath, and then I noticed very subtle chatter in my mind, reflecting on conversations I just had with people, different memories coming to mind. And I thought, that must be the subtle mind. Can I hide my head in shame? Yeah. It was about as far from the subtle mind as you could get. It was distraction. Okay, plain old-fashioned distraction. But I wanted to tie my experience to some exotic sounding word that I had heard in the teachings. Okay, instead of really learning what that exotic sounding word really meant. Okay. Same thing, even with bodhicitta, we think, oh, bodhicitta is so interesting. Yeah. Compassion, I want to develop compassion. But we don't really understand what a bodhisattva's compassion is. Yeah. I wrote an article this last summer for some journal, and the whole first section was what compassion is not. Yeah. And what is it not? Well, it's not being a people pleaser. But we often think that being compassionate is being a people pleaser. People pleasing and compassion are two very, very different things. Yeah? Or we think that compassion means that we're obliged to do something for other people. Yeah? Or that we become the world's doormat and everybody can take advantage of us. But that's because we haven't really studied the text about what compassion is. Yeah, and really thought about it in terms of our life. Okay, or we think, compassion is finding the nearest tiger to offer our body to, or compassion is finding some non-Buddhist who wants our eye so that we can pop our eye out and give it to him so that he can then crush it and throw it on the ground. Yeah, we don't know how to understand the stories because we haven't really understood what compassion means and what those stories are trying to get across to us. Okay, so I'm trying to give you some hints because retreat time is coming up and you'll have some more time to read of how to, really nourish your practice instead of gathering a lot of information and getting quite confused sometimes with it. Yeah. When Geshe-la and I were working on volume 10, we had to pull some books out of the library shelves. I was amazed the number of books on Tantra. Totally amazed, yeah. And Tantra is great. I have incredible respect for it. But is that what I need to put most of my time into right now? Yeah? Or do I need to get a handle on, the 4 establishments of mindfulness so that I am aware of what's going on in my mind now? Is what I need to do, learn the techniques for dealing with my anger, my attachment, and stop my habit of blaming others. It sounds easy. That stuff's hard. Don't you find it? Is it easy for you to stop blaming others when you have a problem? I mean, we live in a world where all people do is blame others. Look what's going on between Israel and Hamas. And then the US and all these other countries are getting involved. And like I said the other day, when a hospital in Gaza was bombed, the first thing people did is, whose fault is it? Not, wow, all these people were injured, let's send in some medicine and help those people who were injured and get the hospitals operating again. Okay? So, yeah, really think closely about what your Dharma practice is about and making a good foundation. Yeah. And then talk to all the people who aren't here today and tell them to listen to the talk. Yeah. And then when they start talking about the difference between Dzogchen and Mahamudra, yeah, then you can say, oh, that's very nice. Yeah. How about dealing with your anger and your jealousy and your arrogance? And then they'll get mad at you and say, oh, you think you're so smart because you don't get angry as much as other people do. And you say, thank you very much, and go walk the cats.